Good morning. I'm Hassan Giordano, and this is your DMV Daily Dose for Thursday, March 26, 2020.
It's currently partly cloudy and 37 degrees in Baltimore. Expect clear skies starting in the morning, and cloudy skies tonight with mixed conditions for the rest of the day. Today's high will be 57 degrees, and the low will be 37.
The United States Senate passed a highly debated stimulus package yesterday, which now heads to the House and is likely to be quickly signed by President Donald Trump. The 880-page measure is the largest economic relief bill in U.S. history. Underscoring the effort's sheer magnitude, the bill finances a response with a price tag that equals half the size of the entire $4 trillion annual federal budget. Now, Forbes is reporting on the details of that package and explains it as such. Checks are supposed to be produced as rapidly as possible, as early as the second week of April, but it's been suggested that it could take up to 2 months. If you use direct deposit, however, it will get to you faster. Now, checks to individual Americans will be mailed out at $1,200 per adult, or $2,400 for married couples filing jointly, and an additional $500 per child. Now, the amount of the checks would start to phase out for those earning more than $75,000, $150,000 for joint returners, and $112,500 for head of household. Now, the phase out means that the benefit goes down as your income goes up. In this case, for every $100 of income above those thresholds, your check will drop by $5. So if you're a single filer earning $75,100, your check will be $1,155. If you're a single filer earning $85,000, your check will be $700. If you do the quick math on all this, it means that you'll phase out completely, meaning that you will get nothing once you hit $99,000 as a single filer, or $198,000 as a married couple filing jointly, or $146,500 for head of household. Now, technically, the checks are advances of refundable credits. The Treasury will advance your check based on your most recent filed tax return. So if you haven't filed it yet this year for the 2019 return, they'll go off your 2018 return. The check acts like a refund that you get in advance. So when you file your 2020 tax returns next year, the IRS will compare your income numbers, and if you should have gotten more, then they will give you that in a refund. Now, most taxpayers, however, should get just the right amount of money this time around. There is no limit to the amount of children that you can claim to be able to get $500 for each child, and seniors who haven't worked will also be eligible for their tax return. Now, besides money going to middle America, this package also calls for more than $350 billion to aid small businesses. $150 billion more will go to hospitals and other healthcare providers for equipment and supplies, while unemployment insurance extensions will go out for 4 more months, plus an extra $600 weekly with more workers being eligible. $500 billion will go to distressed companies, including industry-specific loans for airlines, hotel companies, and others battered by the economic downturn. The package also contains $15.5 billion more for a surge in demand for food stamps as a part of a massive $330 billion title for agency operations. Now, Republicans want inclusion of an employee retention tax credit that's estimated to provide $50 billion to companies that retain employees on payroll and cover at least 50% of workers' paychecks up to $10,000. Companies would also be able to defer payment of the 6.2% Social Security payroll tax. Now, the Baltimore Brew is reporting that just as the Board of Estimates is about to conduct its first virtual meeting, one that lacks a mechanism for members of the public to participate and or protest, one of the city's most controversial proposals is on the agenda. An aerial surveillance program agreement between the Baltimore City Police Department and an Ohio-based persistent surveillance systems program is set to be approved at yesterday's Board of Estimates meeting. Calling it a privacy nightmare come to life, the ACLU of Maryland has raised strong objections to the plan, which would have 3 planes flying over the city of Baltimore as early as the first week of April, collecting footage from supporters that say that aid in combating violent crime. Former Baltimore City Councilman Carl Stokes, who is running to be the city's next chair of this board as the city council president, called on the Board of Estimates to defer the vote until the public has a chance to be heard and until we have a full understanding of the funding expectations. Quote, "We have to get our hands around violence in Baltimore, absolutely, but we must make sure that we're transparent in all of our actions. I have not seen anything that proves this surveillance program is effective," Stokes said in a statement. Now, the current Baltimore City Council President, Brandon Scott, who sits on the board and who has asked for action on the agreement to be deferred, believes something of this significance must be reviewed thoroughly and transparently, his spokeswoman, Stephanie Maronis, told the Brew. Now, the City Council has not briefed the City Council on the 6-month surveillance program agreement, which also has not been released to the public. The Board of Estimates did defer action yesterday at its meeting, being deferred until next week. Now, the Maryland State Superintendent of Schools, Karen Salmon, announced yesterday that public schools will remain closed through April 24th due to the coronavirus outbreak, leaving open the possibility that students might return if the health emergency abates. The decision requires school systems to reinvent teaching in weeks, a kind of retooling that would normally take years and upends the lives of families. Also appearing at the press conference was Governor Larry Hogan, who once again fell short of calling for a shelter-in-place order, as other states and countries have done, including India, which has more than 1.3 billion residents, or 17% of the world's population. And yesterday, as DMV Daily News, along with a host of other news outlets, I'm sure, and election advocates from across the state watched the monthly State Board of Elections meeting via live stream feed, we learned that the State Board of Elections is recommending that there be no in-person voting for the June 2nd primary due to the new coronavirus pandemic, pushing citizens to mail in or drop off ballots that would be sent to every one of Maryland's more than 4 million voters. Leaning on advice from state health officials who said that they could not guarantee protective equipment for all poll workers, board members opted Wednesday against allowing in-person voting, even under limited circumstances. Under the current plan, according to a recently released Baltimore Sun article, it remains in draft form but must be submitted by April 3rd to Governor Larry Hogan, that all eligible voters would receive ballots by mail before June 2nd. Voters could then cast those ballots by mail using a postage-paid envelope that will be included with the ballot, or place them in drop boxes at locations yet to be determined. Now, the 5-member board was ordered last week to submit the plan to the governor as a part of his executive order to postpone the state's April 29th primary. Now, at the same time, the governor ordered a special general election for the 7th congressional district race, also slated for April 28th, to be held on schedule but be done by mail only, which shall be a test run for an even larger mail-only election on June 2nd, possibly. Board of Election staff members are expected to finalize the plan with the board's guidance and present it April 2nd to the board for a vote the day before it's due on the governor's desk. Now, the governor will have the ultimate authority to accept or reject the Board of Elections recommendations based on the state of emergency he declared in response to the virus. As previously, if he was open to a mail-only primary in June, and he said that he was open to all suggestions. Well, I'm your man, Mr. Politics, and this has been your DMV Daily Dose for Thursday, March 26, 2020. Make sure you're open to this suggestion. Stay home. Stay safe. Continue to wash your hands. Stay home, especially if you're sick. And be sure to tune in each and every day as we give you the wrap-up here at the DMV Daily Dose. For more information on the articles that I've mentioned, just make sure you go over to their website at www.dmvdaily.news.